streaming?
Okay, so
All right.
probably turn off the porn.
Yeah, at this point, we are live. Guys, sorry for all of you who may have actually been waiting a bit for this to happen.
Oh, that's 7 minutes of their life they're not going to get back.
Yeah, nah, I mean, you know what? They never will, and they're just going to have to deal with that.
So here's a question, Matt. Are they not going to be able to hear me since Zencaster is on one computer and Skype is on another?
I have no clue. We're going to find this out. But I think...
they're not going to be able to.
No, I think they should be because I'm pulling the audio from my computer out to them. I'm not pulling any... Like, the audio is coming from Zencaster. Hopefully, if someone's in the chat, they can let us know.
Cool.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Scott.
Do I vape?
Is that a dab pen?
No, it's a CBD pen, actually.
Oh, I'm jelly.
I mean, as far as I can tell right now, it's streaming me moving fine and you two frozen, which is hysterical because I can see that you guys are moving perfectly fine in Skype. I'm waiting for literally anybody out there to let me know if this is working properly or not. So please say anything.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
You want to know what kind of pen that is?
CBD.
That's lame as fuck.
Man, alligators are taking over, and crocodiles. All
Wait,
over
you have-
Florida.
Oh, you got crocs down there?
Yeah, we got crocodiles down here now.
Since when?
Well, we've always had them in the Keys, but now they're in Port St. Lucie, and they think there's a crocodile farmer somewhere, and it's no.
But why do you need crocodiles when you already got alligators?
We don't need either of them.
I really wish I could figure out why you guys are so frozen on this damn video.
Yeah, Matt hit that dab pen real hard.
Yep, that's what did it.
Super high.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see, can anybody hear us? Is there anything?
Well, they won't be able to hear shit because you have the call muted, dude. So what you need to do is you unmute the call.
Scott, stop unmuting the call. I'm getting people messaging me that they can hear us. Like, I set this up properly. Yes.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Let's all unmute it.
I'm unmuted, Matt. I'm unmuted, buddy. I mean, I'm muted, buddy.
All right. This is becoming a nightmare. I'm not sure if this is going to work out because you guys are still just frozen images on the fucking thing.
Brian and I are actually just doing the thing where only our mouths are moving.
No. Jesus.
I see Kiki behind you, though. She's sniffing stuff.
That's what's so frustrating. Oh, Zant. Let me see. Because you guys are moving around in the actual video, so I don't know what's happening here. All right.
I'm going to heart react just for you.
Whatever. All right, I think I got it working.
Oh, sad emoji.
Okay, so I think we can start doing this.
Let's do it. Let's just do it.
Let's just go for it. All right, so I'm gonna.
Frozen. Then that's how it is.
Okay, so
just gotta let it go, Matt.
Yeah, so the audio might be a little low, but we'll see what we can do with it.
I look good.
I don't, but I'm frozen, so it's okay.
No, I mean my waveform looks good in Zencaster.
Oh yes.
No one gives a fuck about your face.
All right,
No.
so everything's moving properly. So we're recording. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. We're trying to do an episode live on YouTube. It has been an 11-minute train wreck so far, so we'll see how this goes. I should go to the right notes that I have. So the first thing that we're going to be discussing on this live stream is a movie from 1991 called The Curse, Blood Sacrifice.
Oh,
The Curse 3, Blood Sacrifice.
You're like, oh, it's from 1991, and then I was like, yes, it's the other one, and then I remember you saying yesterday that they're from the same year.
So, Brian, you picked this. I can't put any blame on you though, because
I was forced to pick this.
you
I had my arms in a
so we found, so you see above me an image, and we saw that image and said, there's no way that The Curse 3 could possibly be a bad movie.
Well, no. We knew that it was gonna be bad. We just knew that it was gonna be our kind of bad. But it's not.
No,
It's
No.
not at all.
it's just a bad
just
movie.
Slow. It's basically like an hour and 15 minutes of a Lifetime drama about a woman who has a stillborn child in her womb.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of racial undertones, and then you get 5 minutes of a monster, and the monster doesn't even look good. I was expecting some fucking, merman from Monster Squad up in this bitch, but no.
No, none of it. So I will say this movie has one of the most concise IMDb plot descriptions I've ever read, and it just said, in 1950s Africa, a tribal magician calls up a demon to kill Europeans. Which,
Do they not know what anything is?
which,
They don't know anything.
no, they don't.
A tribal magician.
What are you
See,
trying?
if they had
Fucking
watched it,
kidding
they'd
me?
know that it's called an Nyoga.
Or if they
Yu-Gi-Oh!
change it,
It's a
they could say,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
A witch doctor.
A witch
That's
doctor.
what they could say instead of a tribal magician. That sounds like a guy with not a lot of clothes pulling rabbits out of his hat. And I would pay to see that.
Hey, Brian, I think we figured out our next business venture.
Tribal musician. Magician.
Wow.
So did your guys' copy have?
Musician.
Did your guys' copy have a different name listed when the movie's credits came up?
It's also called Tanga.
Yeah, that's what the Blu-ray says, even though the case says Curse 3 Blood Sacrifice.
Yeah, it wasn't very good, buddy. You're gonna have to chill out with that whole scratching thing.
Don't worry about it.
Oh,
So we got dogs all up in the recording studios. Mine are upstairs, but
I was forced to babysit. Jade has someone over that's something important, and Kiki is incapable of.
Kiki's
not
got no
being
chill.
around strangers. She's chill with me, but when there's someone else here, she's all over them, and it's a lot. So they're hanging
I can't wait to come visit. I just want Kiki to be on me.
so let's try to summarize this movie because
Here, Matt, I can summarize this movie for you in like 2 sentences.
I mean I had the one sentence in 1950s Africa, a tribal magician calls up a demon to kill Europeans.
So 2 more sentences.
Okay,
So we get like a lot of racism. Like this movie
right out the gate.
delivered. This movie was released in '91, but do you know what the holdup was, or like it was somebody else's script or something? Did you read up on that?
Now, Scott, this movie is the first movie that I think we've watched that has no IMDb trivia, nor has anyone bothered to make a wiki page for it. Like it just
Good, because this movie is really, really dumb. It's a waste of our time. Like our time is worthless, but this was still a waste. You know?
And I could be wrong, but I thought that YouTube, in order to count as a view, you have to watch the whole video, pretty much. And this has 2,600 views on YouTube. And for a YouTube video, that's not a lot, but for this movie, that's a lot.
What movie was it that we watched and it had like 7 views or something like
I
that?
think that was Slashdance.
Slashdance, yeah. And we were 3 of them. I mean, I would watch Slashdance, which is also a pretty slow piece of shit. I would watch that 10 times over before I even sat through the first 10 minutes of this piece of shit. Like, this movie is one of the least entertaining films we've watched for the show. This is in over 4 years. Like, before Brian even came along. Like, at least Terror Tunes, which is still ranking #1 worst film that I watched, that I have suffered for art for this podcast.
Art's a word.
Yeah, it's a movie, but the thing about Curse 3 is that it's so boring.
It's
like even fast forwarding it. Like I mean, I finished this movie in a half an hour, and that was still a half an hour too long.
So
I was hoping there would be more monster, but there's literally two shots of the monster, and it looks like garbage.
It's
that's not even a good rubber suit.
No, but it's still the only really truly good thing in the movie.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is it's so bad that the best thing gets 2 shots of it.
Yeah.
I like the old lady. I did like her. Just a few of her lines.
So the old
that I didn't really care for the movie. I liked do you know any scary monsters with sharp teeth? No, but I know little monsters with sugar teeth.
Well, and then they have this scene where the little girl feeds the dog a cookie, and I think that there's going to be something that comes of it, but it's just to introduce that the dog exists for a later scene in the movie. Like,
Yeah, and also, I have notes about that. Don't you feed Mr. Tibbs chocolate chip cookies, you dumbass kid. Dogs can't eat chocolate.
Yeah.
I don't care if that's an outside dog. One, you're putting that dog at risk. And two, it's going to have the sugar shits. So, literally, no win-win here. Like,
And
have you ever fed a dog a cookie? They pee out of their butt for a day.
Unless it's Oreos, because it's not real chocolate.
so let's.
Even the sugar is going to make them pee out of their butt.
So I do have to say, like with this movie, there was a couple scenes actually back to back that gave me a whole bunch of like crazy what the fuck is happening here. So there's a scene at the beach that is just so drawn out.
When they're fucking?
Before that, the scare on the beach is so drawn out and elaborate for this guy to just be like covered in seaweed.
Oh, the guy when he's cosplaying humanoids from the deep?
Yeah, that guy. Like that
That's
scene.
Robert.
Yeah, that scene. She's sitting there, and it's just like, dum 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 dum, and there's just like the like whatever like the creature's breathing noises are, and then it's just him caked in seaweed to scare his girlfriend into having sex with him.
Fucking seaweed in South Africa.
I know. Listen, there's a lot of questions about this movie and their understanding of where people are located. So they start having sex, and so my first note was that this actress is wearing a bathing suit that screams, "You're not paying me enough to show any skin." But then she ends up topless anyway. Yeah. So I was confused by that.
She ends up a topless corpse even.
Yeah, and then her sister also ends up topless, and there's a lot of nudity for this movie because like
It's so boring.
yeah, there's
So boring.
there's really no script. There was no financing. It feels like this wasn't like an expensive movie. So like I don't know how
I think that we probably spent about as much making our pilot.
this director, this is the only movie he's directed, but he was the editor of Return of the Jedi.
What?
Yeah.
Do you think that he used all of his money from Return of the Jedi for this movie, and then it sat in production hell for 10 years?
Well, and the people who wrote this movie never wrote another movie again. So
Good.
yeah.
Good. Fuck
it's
them.
a bad movie. Like, so when they die, when the girl dies, I just feel like it was like 45 minutes of nothing and boringness, and then 5 minutes of 3 deaths, like boom, 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 then boring, and then monster. And then that was about the whole movie.
But also, like, this movie is super racist because, okay, let's just give it the benefit of the doubt and say that it was only in production hell for like 4 years. Distribution hell. So let's say it got made in like 86. 1986, doing a 1950s period piece monster movie, sort of. But there's like super racist voodoo shit going on where all of these caricatures, like I thought that I was watching Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, because he's like yeah, and he's like got white paint all over his face, and I don't think they paid any of the black people enough to be such horrible caricatures of Native African people that oh my god. I can't get past it.
Yeah, this movie's rough. Let's get to the actual killings because that's like the only thing that's really worth talking about.
Before we get to that, I just have to point out some hypocrisy here.
Okay.
She gets literally hysterical. She has a shit fit over this goat being sacrificed. Where do you think her fucking steak comes from? You know that bitch isn't vegetarian. And so she's out there like being upset about one goat. Like, why is she so upset about a sacrificial goat? Because you know they're gonna eat that animal. It's not like Africans in 1950 are like, we raised this animal for 6 months and we're just gonna throw it away.
Yeah.
So dumb. Oh man, the internal logic of this movie. If you're gonna make a drama, at least have a little bit of consistency.
Yeah. So what ends up happening, as Scott pointed out, she stops the sacrificial goat from happening. So the tribal magician decides.
He also does kung fu.
Possibly, it could be a demon wind thing going on. So he decides to send a curse on them that they're going to be tortured by this demon that comes from the sea. Murders. Topanga. Topanga. It murders.
Man, I could be tortured by Topanga in 1981. But it's also okay because I was only 9.
There you go.
I
That's
was
key.
1. That wouldn't be okay.
Holy
No.
fuck, you're so young.
I'm a baby.
You have more tattoos than me, too.
So
I'm a bad baby.
so her sister and her boyfriend get axed. Then she's like trying.
No, they don't get axed. They get like, what's that? What is
I'm
that
talking about they're dead. I don't mean dead like by an actual axe.
Finish.
Yeah.
Cease to exist.
So then she's trying to find her husband, and it's the old husband hidden in the meat refrigerator trick or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
The best part about that is that she like the camera pans across a pig carcass, a human carcass, a pig carcass, and it's like whoa, back to
the
back to
good
the
old.
human carcass, like
Yeah, there's a lot of dead animals in
fucking
there.
Missed that. Oh man,
But-
and like. Are we missing the Children of the Corn South Africa 1950 edition?
I mean, that's most of the movie, but the scene where she's running through the sugar cane takes forever. It's so long.
It and it was still so hard
Yeah.
to watch this movie.
So she's saved, quote unquote, by like one of her husband's most trusted employees or whatever, and
Basically, he's an indentured slave.
Yeah. and then she finds him decapitated in the car.
Oh man, that was the only good kill of the movie.
Yeah, that's the only
You
good.
didn't see it, but she's like, okay, let's go, and it's your head just like, plop.
Yeah, just bloop, flops right off. But then she starts, whenever she's nervous, she just keeps going, America, fuck yeah. But yeah, she says America to herself whenever she's like stressed out, which, same girl. So,
No, I have to think of anything but America when I'm stressed out.
yeah, so then you've got, okay, so she escapes, she gets to the old woman's house, Christopher Lee shows up slumming it hard, and he...
Oh, dude, I have the exact same thing.
Dude.
Like, he's slumming it so hard in 1991. What the fuck was his, like, what's he doing in 91 besides this?
This is right after Gremlins 2. He should be on Cloud 9.
Maybe he was using that Joe Dante money and just saying, like, fuck it, I'll do whatever. He got a free trip to Africa.
But he gives this origin story that is so fucking long, and it is so fucking boring. And it's just like she's got a gun at him, and she's like, tell me where that blood came from. And he's like, well, it started back in 1409.
And also, the thing is that when you're watching that scene, all you're seeing is Christopher Lee's terrible bottom teeth.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's, like, the most British lower teeth, just like, oh, man, what are you talking about? Right? Like, I'm probably still frozen on Skype, but, like, I'm Christopher Lee.
I'm so glad that you're not frozen on Skype anymore so that everyone can enjoy what you're doing right now.
There's another scene. I do have a line.
Jose, we had a request also. Jonathan wants to see Brian vape sensually.
He already did.
He wants to see more of it.
It's the eyes. Oh, dude, yeah. Give a little wink. Dude, I'm pretending that you're vaping that right up my butt.
Oh, and this is menthol too. Nice little breeze butt.
Wow, dude, I could
Yeah.
fart back into your mouth and you wouldn't even know it.
No.
He says he said the reason he wants to see it is because he doesn't get it on the audio version.
This is the only difference between this and our regular Saturday mornings is you can see Brian vape, you can't hear him, and you can see me drinking kombucha. Although it looks like I'm drinking a beer, it is kombucha in a can.
And now at least it clears up people where it's like.
He said, damn, one-handed, I'm gonna come.
Wait, you said that?
Jonathan. All right, so
Jonathan, wait. Jonathan, we know it's been a bit of a dry spell for you, but you can buy better sex than you're watching right now. You live in LA.
all right.
I'm not married.
You get dry spell for the rest of your fucking life.
Yeah, same. So
I
they
sent Jade a coupon for free sex the other night. She didn't cash it in. But dried. That's all.
I've been married for close to a decade. Just a suggestion. I don't think that any woman has ever been like, ooh, a coupon for sex.
Well,
Not even
like,
oral. Like, you could be like, here, I will just pleasure you orally for the next 2 hours. And they'll be like, sure. And they just, like, throw it out. You gotta,
And-
like, kiss them on the neck and, like, lick their earlobe and
See, I
talk
just-
about, like, doing the dishes.
I just had this conversation with my friend the other week though, because he was complaining about like him being in a relationship and never having sex anymore, and I'm like, it's so fun because you get to be so creepy and like so pathetic because you know it's not gonna happen
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay,
it's
so
like,
I'm glad that I'm not the only one that does that.
Like, so why don't you
Like,
bring that booty over here and place it on my chin? You know she's not going to.
it's basically like you get to Mad Lib all the shit that you wanted to say as a teenager, a horny teenager, when you're about to,
Yeah.
when you were jerking off, like trying to come, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna say this and this and this. You never do, and then you're like 30, and you're like, man, I really want to like pretend like I want to eat your butthole, so I'm just gonna say the lewdest shit. Yeah, all right.
Okay, so back to the movie.
yeah,
Sorry,
back to the
distracted by John, who said, by the time she actually does it, though, booyah.
She's gonna cash in. She's gonna look like that guy getting his brain sucked out at the end of
Starship Troopers. All right, so they set the sugarcane on fire, which lights up the tribal magician, as IMDb,
Ganga.
and
And he's laughing as he dies.
he laughs as he dies.
He's laughing the whole time, which is weird that like the ruffle of the bushes is when she's like, there he is, and threw it, because they're like walking around trying to find him, and he's got one leaf covering his face. He's just like, ah!
He like was basically spaghetti, African version.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. So, like, they set the cornfield on fire, the whatever it is.
Sugar.
What? Who cares? And they're all so happy. But like, I haven't seen that fucking dog since it jumped at that demon like 30 minutes ago, and I'm like upset. And now we're an hour and 21 minutes into an hour and 28-minute long movie, and we finally see the only thing that made us want to watch the fucking movie in the first place, which you can see on YouTube, that image of the creature from The Curse 3, and Jesus Christ, like, this movie would be,
Bad.
but this movie would be 100 times better if there was more of that fucking fish demon in it than what
I
we
don't
get.
know, dude.
Yeah.
I want to know who sat in a writing room and said, what if Gilman was a sea bass? And they're like, perfect. Let's do it.
They were basically like, I know for a fact that they just have that rubber suit laying around, and then they built some bullshit story around it, and they're like, it doesn't have to look good. You're only gonna see its back for 2 seconds and its face for 2 seconds, and then we're gonna light that shit on fire.
He gets
They lit
distracted.
that latex on fire. It's not like they're like, oh, we need this for extra takes. They're like, one and done.
Yeah.
We got our fire retardant dude for like 2 hours. Let's make it count.
I don't think there's any scenes in this movie that weren't one and done.
Yeah, I think this whole movie
I
was.
think that Christopher Lee was like, guys, I really need to redo my scene. My teeth weren't prominent enough. I'm
playing Dracula in this, correct?
Upside down. I'm in Africa. This is where Dracula's teeth would be. Upside down.
So the monster who is just slaughtered, just nonstop.
How is this a demon?
This
And it gets killed so fast.
it gets distracted by a doll melting. That's what
The
happens.
doll's like, you lied.
Yeah.
And then he's like, rah. That's it.
Just mama. That's what he keeps doing.
Because it pulls on your heartstrings, sea creature or human. And
Dude.
it just showed.
If I wanted to see a heartstring sea creature human, we're gonna go to my double feature.
Okay.
Lady.
Well, that's a good ass segue because I got nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe we made it like 20 minutes into this fucking movie. That's longer than people who wrote the movie made it.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go live on YouTube and do the most uninteresting episode we could.
Don't
think
worry,
of.
we're gonna get a really
Dude,
interesting episode
the next,
out of that.
the other two things we have to record, I got a lot of notes.
I got nothing but love for one of them.
All right,
Nothing but love.
all right. So, Scott, or actually Brian, you picked this. What's your double feature?
Wow. I didn't pick one. So my double feature would be
Why don't you just let me do it?
All right, let's
Do
just
it. I'll
yeah,
think of
Scott, you do one.
I already said it. Humanoids from the Deep.
Yeah.
I would watch Humanoids. You know, this is what you do. You watch Humanoids from the Deep, and it is completely exploitative and just so wrong on so many levels. And I wondered weekly if I should pick it or not for the show. But you watch that, and you're like, wow, that's cinema. That's
Yeah.
cinema right there. That is pure excellence. I need to go to sleep now. On the Curse 3. And you don't watch the Curse 3. It's just your double feature.
All right, so my double feature is gonna be. So here's the scenario. I've invited some people over. I said, hey, when I was at Monster Mania, I bought this movie. Demon on the back of the cover looks pretty cool, so it should be good. And then we watch it.
Damn it, VHS PS.
No, I bought the actual Blu-ray that like
Curse
Synapse.
3.
Yeah, that Synapse put out.
Did you spend $32 on that? Or?
It was 20. It was $20. I regret that
that's-
purchase. Yeah.
Dude, that's like so much Diet Coke that you could have bought.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've sat through it. I said, guys, I'm really, really sorry. But you know what? Christopher Lee was in another sequel to a franchise that
I let you have this.
that also is kind of wacky, but this one's actually fun to watch. So how about we pop in The Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf?
Yeah. Brian, have you still not seen that?
I saw Howling, and then I saw the bad one that we had to watch.
We haven't watched the bad one.
Marsupials? That wasn't bad.
That was the bad one.
You haven't watched Howling
You don't
6
know
The Freaks.
anything. You don't know shit, dude.
There could be more bad ones, but that was the bad one.
It's
No,
it's a high.
It's a lot of fucking fun, man.
Yeah, it's the highest ranked bad one.
yeah. It goes Howling, Howling 3, Howling 2, and then go to sleep
Yeah.
and
I had
ignore
no
the
problem
rest.
with three. But I am going to kind of piggyback off Scott because his double feature had to do with cinema. So I would be like, we're going to watch Curse 3, and it's going to be followed up with Citizen Kane because they both begin with C's. That is my double feature.
So can we just point out that at this point, I don't know about Scott, but I've watched all 4 Curse movies, and really Curse 2 is the only one that's worth the damn. Yeah, that's how we found out about Curse 4. You can go listen in the
Curse
back
3.
catalog. Yeah, we've learned about 3 because I mentioned that there was a 4th in a previous episode.
I have forgotten.
Yeah, called
No,
Catacombs.
Curse is shit, but at least it's gooey. I wouldn't watch it a second time. Curse 2 is just a ride. Listen to our episode on that. If you turn this off, I hope that you hope that you made it this far. But yeah, Curse 2 is so good. It has no right being in this franchise. The fact that this is even quote unquote a franchise.
Yeah, this is barely a franchise. This is like the island of misfit toys as far as like movies that no one wanted goes.
Yeah, it's like House. The House franchise is barely a franchise.
Yeah, they're just like, throw it in the Curse franchise and see how it does. So
The House movies are great.
you had.
And House 2 are great.
I do love House. Yeah,
Was House 3?
that was the horror show that we watched together.
Yeah.
that
And then
was a
House
bad
4 is the
movie.
Pizza Man one, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
A
you
beast.
know what? Before we close, I'm glad you brought up pizza. Because I got a bone to pick with pizza that I didn't realize as an adult. So me and Jade ordered some pizza last night, and she was in the mood for Sicilian. Why is Sicilian a pizza? It's like you're just ordering a pizza, and you're like, can I have a little too much of everything? Sure, we'll give you a lot of dough, too much sauce, and a shitload of cheese, and throw it at you and charge you $5 extra. It's infuriating.
Wait, so
Death to Sicilian pizza.
did she know this, or is this her first time having Sicilian?
She loves Sicilian. She loves it.
Oh, you got to call off that engagement.
Yeah, dude, you hold on to that forever because she sees that Sicilian as you. You're
I
just
am
a little too much of everything. So
That is.
You're just a little too. You're a little too lovey. You're a little too horny. You're a little too tattooed.
You're a little too big.
A little too big.
Well,
But you can always get rid of that extra dough, buddy.
yeah.
I know. I mean, ever since the boob flap, that's been
What?
my biggest thing. Oh, I thought
Were
I
you
brought this up on
jogging
the
and
episode.
you had a boob flap?
So as we talked previously about me being creepy in my relationship, she was getting ready to get in the shower, so I went up and I just hit the bottom of her boob, did a little boob tap, and then she did it to me, and it sounded like a waistband in underwear snapping back.
I feel feel like you fucking deserve that though. Like, who boob slaps their fiance?
No, this is a boob slap. I did a like a little.
You gotta ask permission, dude. Dude, like you got like ah man, the last year I have been really, really. Well, no, it's not even the last year. It was like maybe 6 months ago. It was in the winter at some point, and I realized I'm a fucking creep. I went up to Megan and I took a huge handful, both hands of her ass, and just went, ugh, and she was like, whoa, you didn't even ask permission. I was like, oh God, I've become what I hate.
Yeah.
And so now I'm always like, can I please touch your breasts?
Yeah.
Can I? Yeah. I always use the correct medical terminology. I'm like, may I please lick your nipple? No, Matt, you probably want to cut that out.
Yeah, I think that's a two-way street, though. Like, should I?
No. Please touch me anytime. Don't ask.
Yes, I should ask for permission. Should you ask for permission when you're going to eat my toaster strudels when I only have 2 left, and you eat the last 2, and then leave the box in the freezer?
Wait, who eats 2 toaster strudels in one sitting? Jade, you need to calm the fuck down.
That's how they're made. Look at the toaster. 2 slots, 2 strudels.
Dude, even when I was a teenager and eating way more than I do now, I never ate 2 toaster strudels. That's just gluttonous.
I could eat 6.
Well, how do you think he got his boob flap going?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Brian, if you want to lose weight, don't eat fucking 4 toaster strudels in a morning.
Dude, they come in 2.
I got 2 hands, so I have 2 for each hand. Like,
exactly.
You know what the best part about toaster strudels is? It's the great. You want to talk about curses? The curse of the toaster strudel is they never give you enough of that frosting on the top. Never. They give you half as much as you need. You need to cover that shit.
Let me ask you something. Do you rest your little toaster strudel topping? Do you rest it on the toaster while you're cooking your strudels?
I mean, I know that's what you're supposed to do, but
if you don't, you get a big clump and then you can't get a lot out. But when you soften that up, you can get that bad.
No, dude, what you do is look at me. You just go like this in your hands. You pretend it's money, and you pretend it's a bag of cocaine.
Oh.
Yeah. Now that's the reference you needed.
So we still have one more thing that we're supposed to do on this show.
Talk about things we liked.
Yeah.
So
what's the thing? What's the thing that you watched that you actually liked this week?
Okay, I wanna pop this off with something really, really good.
All right.
I wanna just totally flip the coin and talk about something that I absolutely adored. So Megan's favorite thing to watch is a documentary. She loves documentaries. They're her favorite movie, TV show, whatever. And she picked up or just popped on Bathtubs Over Broadway on Netflix.
Okay.
So it is one of the writers from the Letterman show. He had no hobbies. And then he realized that he somehow came across, I missed the first 5 minutes because Megan watched it in the airport, but I watched the last 120 or hour and 20 minutes. So, I mean, I got the gist of it, but I don't know the impetus of this, but the narrator / main character of this documentary found out about industrial musicals in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and actually are into the early 90s, and they're still doing them, but just not as much as they used to. But it's literally musicals that were for like trade conventions and trade shows for like General Electric and bathtubs and all toilets and the weirdest shit. And he started collecting these soundtracks, and then he started getting connected with the people that were in them. And there were some people that wrote for ridiculous, like they wrote 200 of these, and they basically were never seen by the public. They weren't supposed to be seen by the public. They were for just the employees of these large companies between the 50s and 70s mostly. And he got in contact with some of them and got connected with some of the composers, and it is a really, really great documentary. It's the best documentary that I've watched in years, and Megan said it's one of the best she's seen in years too, and she's much more of a documentary aficionado than I am, so I can't recommend it enough. It is sweet, nerdy as fuck. It is weird. The guy is kind of a goofball geek, and it's just so charming. I highly recommend it to anybody.
All right. I'm going to recommend something that's currently in theaters. at the time that we're recording this. I hope it's still in theaters by the time the episode drops. Ma, which came out, was just good, dumb, fun movie. Definitely worth watching. Was a little let down by Brightburn, if I'm being totally honest. But we're trying to focus on positivity, so I don't want to dive into that too much. But I saw both of them the same weekend, and definitely walked away feeling like Ma was the one I had way more fun with.
Cool. I like this movie. It has its faults. But I watched, even though I was told not to by several people, I watched Arizona last night.
Okay.
Arizona.
Never heard of it.
With Danny McBride.
Is it newish?
It's newish, so it's a dark comedy, and it's very, very entertaining. The only issue that I would have with it is just it doesn't really know what type of movie it is. You know, in a way, like it almost seems like someone wrote a new age Fargo, and then asked Danny McBride to be in it, and he was like, "Cool, but here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring my friends on board, and then we're gonna tweak the script a little bit to make it like Pineapple Express, and like, but throughout like 15 minutes of an hour and a half movie. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not 15 minutes straight. It's just like in total, there's like 15 minutes worth of like Pineapple Express type humor, and then like the rest is like Fargo type humor. So it's mixed match, but overall, I was very entertained by it the whole time.
Nice.
Very.
You and your drug culture.
All right. Well, that was The Curse 3 Blood Sacrifice as picked by Brian. Sort of. It was bad. Don't watch it. But next week, we're going to be talking about a different sequel that's actually very, very good, despite what people might tell you. Fun fact, they have the exact same low Metascore critic, and I don't understand how that's possible. Metacritic score, whatever. Listen, I'm not good with words. People listen to the show and know that. But for those of you who are watching us live on this stream, we're going to take a brief pause. And by what I mean by brief pause is we're still going to be live. I'm just going to hit stop on this recording and start on a new recording. And then we're going to talk about something else, which is going to be straight for Patreon. But you know what? People who are listening to this, that means nothing. So that's something maybe...
So probably just cut this.
But you know what? I probably won't because, you know, you got to pay attention. Because you got to pay attention to our social media. You might be going like, what do you mean this stream? But we were talking about on Facebook and Twitter. So pay attention to our social media. HMN Podcast. All right. Bye.
I'm going to go get some chips. I'll be right back.
Cool.
All right.
Send me the new...
No, we're just going to stay right in the same one. I'm just going to keep doing new recordings. You in there, Scott?
Here I am.
Scott?
What happened, dude?
I was like, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. We're good. All right. I just clicked new recording, so it's going to break it into 3 separate recordings in one folder for me.
Just hold on. Let me go get some chips.
Bunch of tech shit. Get chips.
There's no girls. There's no beer. I'm eating chips.
All right, so for the people who are sitting there watching us on the stream, you know, you can chat with us. You can say howdy, but I'll put up a little graphic to give you a hint on what we're talking about next. I hope. Boom. So hopefully that's a good tip-off on what the conversation is going to be about. It's got a pretty fire theme song, I must say.
It does.
I stole that from Brian. He posted about that on Instagram. But
just a quick word from our unofficial sponsors, not yet our sponsors. If you find yourself sick, throwing up, diarrhea everywhere, Pepto-Bismol Ultra.
All right.
It just works wonders. 2 times the strength per ounce. 5 symptom reliefs: nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. There's actually a little diddly in the 90s that went along with it. That's great. So Pepto-Bismol. Fuck your stomach back into shape.
How about you sing that song for us? Give us some nostalgia.
I gotta read the lyrics. Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Hold on a second. Did you do a little dance with it too?
Yeah, I did.
All right, because I'm watching on the YouTube, so there's a slight delay.
We had
Oh, you are dancing.
yeah. We had some great fucking tunes, man.
We did.
Like commercial tunes.
Well, that
Who
was-
cares anymore?
That was the thing. You were at the Franklin Institute when Kyle and I were working on the final details for one of the skits for the pilot, and we sat for probably an hour watching TV show commercials, and they just all had such great jingles.
Yeah.
Just-
especially I like the metal ones, like the hard rock ones.
I was gonna say, let's
When you're
be.
playing your sports and you want to get a drink, you get your fucking Gatorade, you motherfucker.
uh,
Jesus
Jesus Christ! All right, where is he getting this water? Because I also want to.
So
Who-
I can talk about something right now. There is an alligator uprising in Florida,
Oh no!
and it's getting serious.
Uh oh!
We're finding crocs everywhere, and I think that if you live, I would say anyone that lives in the Carolinas, you live in Georgia, you know, start preparing yourself I do it on a weekly basis. I think if an alligator gets me, what do I do? And what you have to do is you have to gouge its eyes. I've read this. You have to gouge their eyes out because it's their weak spot. Or you reach in the back of their throat and there's a little flap that closes so they can swim underwater. This is if they got you in the water, and you just rip at that and it fills up with water. Now, the reason that you should do it on a weekly basis is because when an alligator gets you, you're so startled. You're so fucking startled that you don't know what to do if you read it once. So constant reminder. It'll save lives. You learn a little, you live a lot. Okay? So just remember, that's primarily for the people down here, or if you're vacationing in the next 6 months, just remember, gouge its eyes out. If you get in a death roll, that's dangerous. Hold your breath and then go. If he's got your hands, you go for the throat. If not, you gouge its eyes out.
All right.
And
there's-
theory, while Scott's getting ready, running in a zigzag, that doesn't do anything. It just slows you down. An alligator can run about 10 miles an hour on the ground, so you can easily outrun it. So you can just run straight and haul ass.
All right. All right, Scott, you in?
That's a yes.
All right. So it says.
So, I just have to let you guys know. I'm so sorry it took so long. Anybody watching, I'm so sorry it took so long. I couldn't find couldn't find the chips I wanted, so I had to go with the. Our house isn't even that big. I don't even know where my fucking chips went.
So we had a couple things.
I was sneaking suspicion that a certain cute brunette that lives in his home may or may not have eaten my favorite chips. But she knows damn well they're my favorite chips. That's marriage.
It's like toaster strudels all over again.
It's the end of the world, man.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Nightmares, the Patreon bonus. Some of you are watching us live on YouTube, and we are going to talk about the Goosebumps episode, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. I was going to say To Die For, which is actually a better name, but Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. Theme song, still dope. Still a fantastic theme song.
Absolutely, best part about the entire show is the theme song, and the best part about the theme song is when the dog comes in and is like, whoop whoop whoop. I love it. I have so few notes for these. Every time we do one of these.
So, give me 1 second. People are getting to see how much texting I do while we record sometimes.
Oh yeah, like he's not playing fucking Candy Crush.
No. I won't say any names, but maybe a human being who threw a really dope convention that two of us were at just was trying to call me, and I need to let him know that I'll call him back in like an hour. So,
you better call him back because he is our favorite person this week.
dude, that
Yeah.
guys, Pop Rock and Horror, you should go if there's a year two. So, theme song's still dope. This episode was real fucking weird. I picked this one because I remembered how it ended. I didn't remember how it began or middled.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead, Brian, then I have a question.
The first time, like right before the intro, I think it is. It's either right before the intro or just like the first time you see the ghost. Actually creepy as fuck for a kid.
I was gonna say,
More than 5 seconds of screen time, and you're like, okay, that just looks ridiculous.
I said this.
It looks so bad.
I said this Haunted Mansion ghost is wild in this episode. Like,
Yeah, dude.
but like, this kid is just like walking around, just doing some crazy imagination shit. He's just like, he pops the fucking strainer on his head and pretends that he's an astronaut, and I'm like, does this dude know how to party or what? Like,
He has the
he's,
second strainer on his head. He's got 2 strainers.
yeah, kid's nuts. So he's fantasizing about all types of stuff, and like the reveal where his fantasy is broken is such an awkward cut. Like he's like hiding in the basement, and he's like, they're coming down, they're gonna catch us, and then it just cuts to the mom upstairs, and he just walks in and he's like, hey mom, just playing a fantasy thing. Like it reminded me of that.
Doing my thing.
Yeah, it reminded me of that scene in Orgasmo when it cuts to the exterior shot and the car parks in the driveway, and he's like, I'm really glad you came over my house so I could show you some of the stuff I've been working on in the basement. And then it cuts inside the car, and Trey Parker's like, did you say anything? And he goes, nah, just thinking. So, like,
I thought you were going to do the part where he's like, Dad, I don't think I want to do hamster style anymore. And the guy's like, okay.
all right. Dude,
That's my son.
this guy's dad gets way too excited about the idea that he has a player piano in his house.
Yeah. A player piano. Oh, just a regular.
Yeah. Just, oh, nuts. And then he like,
Fiddlesticks.
and the kid goes, but Dad, for real, it was playing by himself. And he gives him an old like, hello, McFly. Are you...
Is anyone in? Is this thing on?
Spoiler alert, the kid's a robot too.
But see, here's the thing. There's a moment in this movie where the dad and the mom are talking about the kid, and it maybe hit a little too close to home because they're just like, I don't know what to do with this fucking kid. He's got no friends. He's just running around in his own fantasy worlds. And I'm like, oh, I've overheard this conversation.
Yeah.
All that
This
kid
is
needs
just
to do-
like me, only 30 years younger.
Man, you got real loud.
Yeah, that was like you were pushing the volume button for your story. So here's the thing: is that like that kid never went to a park, kicked a tree, and yelled "nice fucking model."
This is true.
He's not quite nearly a Matt Kelly. He might be a Brian Kelly.
Maybe.
Yeah, Brian Kelly did a lot.
Well, here's what's also very odd is his dad gets so jazzed when he's like, yeah, Dad, I want to learn how to play piano, which makes no fucking sense because he saw a ghost at his piano.
Yeah.
But the girl is in a band.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. She
Did
said
I
he
miss
plays.
that? Because I didn't even
Yeah.
fast forward any of this. I
Yeah,
just must have, like,
yeah, the
dozed
girl-
off for a
The
second.
girl was
She's
like,
like, you play? He's like, I play a little bit.
Yeah.
What did she play?
she was like,
I play guitar.
yeah, she's like, maybe we can jam sometime. You know, those
Oh, I heard that part.
Yeah. So that's when we meet Dr. Shriek, and
Doctor Strange. Shriek.
this guy seemed familiar. Do you know why he's familiar looking?
I knew
I
you'd
don't
tell
know.
us, so I didn't look it up.
He played
Yeah,
both.
who is
He played both Dr. Vic in the first episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and Zebo the Clown /
knew it was
the
Zebo.
Carnival guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm always here.
Yeah.
Smoking a stogie.
He seems like a character in Tenacious D.
Yeah.
Like, he just seems like a side character in Tenacious D.
You know who he reminds me of? He actually reminds me of Tim Robbins in Pick of Destiny. when he's given the whole like, he's like, in order to get the Pick of Destiny, you're going to have to break into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But unfortunately, it's terribly guarded by lasers. That's how I lost my leg. I missed that sweet fucking leg. He's like,
There's a camera. The guy was talking.
gonna shit. But then we also meet Mr. Toggle, who is kind of dope. I like Mr. Toggle because he just owns his weirdness. He seems like he stepped right out of UHF and into this movie or this show. But
It's a long 30 minutes. Though.
it's 22 minutes.
1 minute.
It's a long 22
So
minutes.
the whole reason I picked this movie, or I keep saying movie, that is just disingenuous to this. They reveal that Mr. Shriek, I said Mr. Shrek, whatever. Mr. Shriek is a robot, and he starts to have this malfunction, and he's running.
Beautiful
Yeah,
hand.
beautiful hands. But all I remembered was that they cut to all of the disembodied hands playing piano, and I was like, this will be a fun, weird one for us to talk about.
honestly, you don't need to apologize because this isn't nearly as bad as
Curse 3.
Yeah. This is probably the best Goosebumps episode we've watched, which isn't like a high bar, but
Dare you say something of the sort?
you.
The Goosebumps where her the librarian eats bugs.
that was pretty.
That was suspenseful.
What's that movie? Or
the girl who cried monster.
Yeah, the girl. That
That
one easily our best.
Yeah.
Not the episode, just the
Just the
show.
experience.
Yeah.
Well, then the Ghost and Toggle have just the strangest conversation, where it makes she's like, "You'll never do this again," but it looks like he's done it quite a bit, like in the
Like,
time.
she's like mad at him for trying to take the kid's hands.
Yeah, she
First,
has
what the fuck
stubs.
are you going to do with the hands? Are you going to make them animatronic? Are you going to make the kid a robot?
Well, that was the whole point. He said that he can't make robot hands. There's too many things to make figures go.
Okay,
like
so
this,
that's a
he
lie.
uses-
Because when you go into that room and you see about 12 pianos,
Those are
all with
Those are people. Yeah, those are people hands
oh,
made to robot it.
Yeah.
But then how are
Which-
they floating in the air?
They're attached to like the metal things.
Yeah. Which is you're just getting greedy because you
Yeah.
have more hands than robots at this point.
Yeah, you can't even keep up.
Put them on Dr. Shriek.
Yeah.
But the
Fucker's been asking for some for the last 15 years.
and man, there's this 3D ghost effect when the ghost bursts out at the
Oh,
mom's
it's
car.
So bad. It looks like a Gushers commercial.
It does. It looks like the most 90s commercial you can imagine. The way she comes right into the camera is just like,
Yeah.
but then them like our little like boop at the end of the episode is Toggle just playing the piano all crazy as the
That
ghost.
guy really committed to the bit.
Dude, so
Seriously.
he's the star of this episode, and she's
He's
just
like, when can I stop? And she's like, in 200 years.
Yeah.
The way she talked and like her body movements was like this was a terrible casting choice.
oh,
I
awful.
thought that she was supposed to be British.
And she was definitely like 30. Like that was a 30-year-old trying to play like an old woman.
Yeah.
It was just like remember where Adam Sandler and SNL? Like let's hire a woman to do that. Like she's just like you gotta play the piano. You gotta play it the rest of your life.
Also, how is he going to play piano for 200 years? Because he's mortal.
Yeah. Or just be like, hey, guess what I have? Skin and bones. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah,
What if she
just
makes it
walk away. Yeah, just walk away. She's a
Like,
ghost.
what the fuck's the ghost going to do? She's incorporeal. Or is she? Well, if she can actually play the piano.
But how did she play the piano? Because she's got stumps for hands.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
You didn't realize that? I think
I
it
had
was
forgotten.
his mother that he finally stood up to, and she was the first person whose hands she cut off.
I think that.
That's
It,
what I like to think.
So what they should have done is make her afraid of him.
Yeah.
well, no, she's sick of everything that's happening, so she's getting her vengeance.
But like, she's,
I can't believe you said this was the best one. This one sucks.
this one is the weirdest. I would
That's-
say this one takes the weirdest turns.
That's what I think I mean.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward that he was a robot. That Dr. Shriek was a robot. Professor Shriek, whatever, Mr. Shriek.
That guy went through-
Shriek.
I went through like 4 different titles in about 30 seconds just now.
Anyway, so Shriekbot is very obviously a robot from the fucking get-go. But then you get that real you're glossing over the absolute best part of the entire episode, where we get this chopping mall thing going on in the basement when the kids like going around trying to like get in the different rooms, and the cleaning robot is like, stop right there, surrender your weapons.
But yeah, you know,
Have a musical day.
have a musical day. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so we watched this. Thank you, Patreon. Thank you for the few people on YouTube that watched us talk about it.
Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Yeah.
Like, this was not better than
This was
close
better
to
than
that.
Cuckoo
This
Clock
is
of
be-
Doom.
this is 100% better than Cuckoo
Oh
Clock of
my
Doom.
God.
It's better than The Haunted Mask, which was way too long. Did not need to be an hour episode.
I don't think I was here for that.
You weren't. But it's too long.
I was
Did we
here
do
for
that with?
Cuckoo
Did
Clock
we
of
do
Doom.
that with Adam, or did we do it by ourselves?
We did it with
Kyle?
we did it with Adam for it was like our first Halloween we did it as an episode.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and call it on this, and then we will do one last one for you guys out there. But as you can hear, as you can hear, I am coughing up a storm, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a water first.
No, he's still there.
Scott, you in there?
I'm in here.
I hear you. Oh man, technical difficulties are fun.
There he is.
Okay,
He's back.
Scott?
Maybe you can flip
Yep,
it.
I hear him. Okay, I'm going to run and get a water real quick for this live stream for this last one. So I stop coughing.
Yeah, stop coughing.
I can't help it. I was sick.
Let's let Megan get in the house because the dogs are losing their shit right now.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll be right back after these messages. I don't know what I'm talking about. Bye.
I got some.
You need a sissy?
Do you hate it when you're trying to live stream your podcast and one of your hosts has to go get water? Well, that's a thing in the past. Now that we have Contigo water bottles, it holds up to 24 ounces and it's seamless. You just press the button. Tastes
Brian
just
Kelly.
like real water.
But it's Contigo. So Brian Kelly has two. He has one for water and one for sissy.
No, but the key is you just chug the first one, and then it's empty to make a sissy in. You heard it here first, guys.
So, Brian, I don't know if you have like a really long dick or a really thin dick. But
Short and fat.
okay, well, I don't know how you sissy because I got pissed all over myself when I sissied on my way back from Gettysburg.
Imagine being able to urinate out of an Audi belly button. And
You ever cut off a really fat sausage, like 2 inches? That's my dick. Wow, hold on.
and Scott's gone. Kramer style. That was a Kramer style runaway. Who are you texting, Matt?
Someone to tell him to watch.
Okay. I've been texting too, but it's all about the same shit I've been talking about. I'm in a group. I'm just warning my fellow Floridians that there is an uprising coming, and it is not a joke.
All right.
It's not a game.
More alligators.
It's not a game. It's not a game. All right. So here we go.
The highlight of the
beaches.
fucking night.
All right, we're recording. All right, we're live. We're still on YouTube. Gonna take a sip of water in a second, but we're talking about Child's Play 2. There we go.
Are we recording? Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. Here we go.
Fucking. You gonna intro?
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week we are discussing Child's Play 2! Arguably the best Child's Play movie of the entire franchise. I said it. I'm going to stick by it. I've got about 1.5 pages to 2 pages worth of notes explaining why I feel that way. So we're still live on YouTube at this point, so let's hash this out.
I'm gonna say this, man. I think that Child's Play has and I can't really speak. I think one of the newer ones I didn't see, but next to I would say Child's Play has probably the most consistent franchise.
I agree.
Why? Because
three
Don
is
Mancini
tough.
wrote all of them.
Yeah.
But it was almost like they went from a straight horror, and this movie was when they realized that horror can be fun.
Yeah, they dipped their toe just a bit.
Yeah, Child's Play 3 was a learning curve.
I've
was
never
still
seen
fun.
3. Is it worth watching?
We'll talk about it one day.
Yeah,
It might be on someone's list.
yeah, it's definitely not the best. But then dude, fucking Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky are just they are so fucking.
They're
fun.
laugh riots. They're just
Yeah.
comedies. They're not even horror movies.
Yeah, but that's why I don't ever want to watch them again. I don't think I've even ever seen the entirety of Seed of Chucky.
Seed of-
I think I saw greatest hits or like the middle of it at a party in high school or college or something.
The best thing about Seed of Chucky, not to get off track, Child's Play too, but John Waters' cameo.
Yeah.
Okay, you sold me. I'll
Yeah.
watch it. That's all I had to say, buddy.
What do you want me to do? Draw you a fucking picture? Could you? Someone get a pencil.
Yeah, he plays a trashy tabloid journalist. It's the best casting in film history. Anyway, so I actually think that this is the first Child's Play movie I ever saw. I feel pretty confident in that.
Right, but it wasn't the first I ever saw. The first one I saw was Bride of Chucky, which makes no sense because you have no like backup information. You don't have any exposition. I mean, I guess they do a good enough explanation, but yeah. Hey, Megan.
Yeah. Hi, it's Megan.
Hey!
Sweaty wife, come here. Sweaty wife, put us on the live stream.
Oh, there she is! Hey! Well, that's something to cut for the audio.
I need to ask Jade before I touch her boob.
Yeah?
You didn't ask before you did any of it.
That was because I wasn't touching any sexual parts.
Anything sexual if you lick it.
He was gonna lick your toes? What a fucking weirdo.
So,
Yeah, John London's watching.
Oh, hi.
now I'm watching. There's a couple people. Lauren, Lordo Slice, or Lord So Lice 83. I have no clue how to say that screen name.
Why is no one's number 69?
I have no clue.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
Take the dogs out, and you can edit this out of the actual episode.
The actual
Live stream!
live stream. Woo! All right. So.
Then take my top off. Okay, so yes, Bride of Chucky.
Oh,
is
it's
the
Tim.
first
Hi,
one
Tim.
I ever saw. And what about you, BKL?
Child's Play too.
Yeah, he watched it at
you
the.
guys watch it together?
He watched it at the sleepover that I had for my birthday.
Yeah.
What birthday was it? 11?
Probably 10 or 11, something like that. Right when I was like first dipping my toe into horror movies.
It was funny because I remember. I think this is the first time I've watched it since then. I think it's been a while. Maybe I watched it one other time, but I remember the wax being like bright orange because I thought it was like pretzel dip cheese. Like that's what I thought he was killed with at the end. Was cheese.
My other memory of this, because like, here's the thing, and I doubt any of the guys would ever hear this, and they were really good dudes, but the people that were at my sleepover at that particular time were like...
No last names, Matt.
No last names. No, I'm not going to give any last names. They were like guys who also played on the sports teams I was forced to play on, so like, not really like best friend material. They were just kind of guys that I was in a type of social circle with.
Yeah.
So...
This is the infamous sleepover. Scott.
This is
when I watched Child's Play Starship Troopers and wasn't allowed to watch Porky, so I went upstairs to watch Species with my parents, and they realized they made a mistake.
Yeah.
Wow.
But this...
I would let my kid watch Porky's before subspecies or before Species any day.
But
Species fucked me up. There's like,
but they didn't
not
know
as
what
bad as Species 2 though.
they didn't know
That's
what
bad.
Species was. It had just come out.
I feel like your parents were pretty bad at judging what movies were about.
For
They
them,
didn't
yeah.
Well, they didn't ask questions.
Yeah.
The only time that I
That's
ever
bad
almost
parenting.
GameStop screwed me, and then I had to get my Aunt Gail to buy it for me because my parents took me to GameStop to get Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I was like, "This is perfect." This is
Wait, what?
What? Conker's Bad Fur Day. It was a video game about a squirrel that got wasted, and he's hungover and he has to find his way home. And like everywhere he goes is a reference to a genre of movies.
How do you spell that?
It's tied with Metal Gear Solid as the best game ever made. But anyway, the guy at GameStop, the guy at GameStop was like, "This is a little bit too, I don't think your son's mature enough for this game." So my mom was like, "I'm not getting it for you." And then I got my Aunt Gail to get it a month later.
So here's a question. Why are you not a furry? After there's a sexualized, is she a rabbit on the front there?
Because I played this at an age where boobs were funny, because I wasn't allowed to see them. It wasn't like,
Boobs have never
It's
been
like,
funny.
Booby.
It's not a good-
But
Take that, Mom.
but then the other but that's the other thing is that this was the infamous. I'm pretty sure this is the Chucky getting a swirly sleepover as well.
No. Brendan Child's Play 2 was the first one I saw, and then I got obsessed with Chucky after that.
Oh,
And I
so
was- I
yeah.
was pissed. They gave my Chucky, because Matt had a Chucky and I had a Chucky, but I had Bride of Chucky. Like I had like the
Stitched
up
together.
wig.
Yeah.
And they gave it a swirly. And his hair was
Damn.
the same.
So hey,
And you tried to fix it someone tried to fix it in the dryer, which just made it way worse.
So guys, I just I have a public service announcement for anybody listening, as well as anybody on the live stream, but mostly people listening. You might want to go on incognito mode to look up Conker's Bad Fur Day, because I wasn't wrong. There's a lot of shitty DeviantArt kind of furry porn.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
probably.
there is furry porn on Sonic, so there's 100% going to be furry porn on fucking Conker's Bad Fur Day.
You know what else is really disturbing? Furry porn on Zootopia.
Yeah, that gets creepy. That's a
I mean, furry porn is creepy, but like Zootopia is really fucked up.
that's a weird subject for me.
Because you have a crush on.
Judy Hopps, yeah, no, it's been there. So anyway,
That's like
Judy,
I'm not.
hopping.
Yeah.
I may or may not have a DeviantArt page just directed towards
Yeah.
Judy Hopps.
can't escape it no matter what show I'm
that-
recording.
That Zootopia porn is gross. Send me
But
that
where
link.
is it?
Yeah, can you send me a link so I know how to block it properly? So
You're awful. What websites?
anyway, so Child's Play 2, the horror sequel that's spawned by them trying to do a PR cover-up, is just
Which is such a great 1991 concept. Like,
yeah.
evil corporations just. This movie is really smart. Like Don Mancini, obviously. Don Mancini.
Yeah, I think that's it.
He is just like super smart. I think that this was the best and only way you could have gone from the original Child's Play into a sequel. And I'm not giving their other sequels like a free pass, because I think that some of them stretch a bit. Although I do really love Curse of Chucky. I don't know about Cult, but I loved Curse of Chucky. I think
And I
that
think
is.
that's the one I haven't seen. That's the one I
Oh,
still
Curse
need
of Chucky is really good. It's like
Yeah.
a lot darker than most of the stuff. It's more closely, tonally, it's much closer to maybe Child's Play 2. Probably Child's Play the original though, because it's pretty dark. I mean, it's got like Chucky making some quips, but also the quips in this. I was expecting this was my first watch. I was expecting a lot more quips, and I was very happy that he's more pissed off than like a stand-up comic, because that's really, to me, that's the sign that a franchise has gone on too long. You know, as much as I enjoy Dream Warriors, that's when Freddy starts doing his quips.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the end there. Yeah, it's the beginning of the end there.
And I think that really Hellraiser 3 is when we get, I don't know, it's the best and worst take on Pinhead, in my opinion. So I don't know. I mean, these are all controversial opinions from a white guy that it doesn't fucking matter what I think. But then, you know, we got Friday the 13th. I mean, when did Jason become a caricature? I don't even know. I think
it's
probably
tougher. Yeah, and it's also tougher when they
because he doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, think about all the franchises. And I think that there is TCM 2 really is when the whole franchise kind of became a comedy. But TCM 2 is my favorite now. I mean, not for lack of Toby Hooper trying to make the first one a comedy, but
Scream 5 would have had Ghostface like blowing out someone up, and he's like, "You're fired," and then he runs out of the house. It's like, "Ba-na-na-na-na-na."
So let's talk about.
And his knife stays in the air for a few seconds, and his arm grabs it.
So like my thing is I love, but like with this specific movie, I love it right from the opening shot, like the opening shot of the burnt up Chucky head.
Yeah,
And-
scraping. This is the thing, is that I think that we are. I'm trying to think of the term. I'm trying to think of the right word, because I want to say spoiled, but it's not spoiled. I think that we're spoiled in a way because we don't have to sit through intro credits anymore. But intro credits that are exposition are so good.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Because like this is like one of the best. I think that Gremlins 2 had a really great exposition type intro. I think that you can do it in a cool way too with like Night of the Demons, where they had
The animated stuff, yeah.
with a great theme song. There are ways that you can do it. Like Halloween 4 has a great intro. Halloween 1.
Really,
has a
all
great
the I was
intro.
gonna say most of the Halloween franchise knows how to do it stylistically.
Yeah,
Um,
Halloween 5. Halloween 5 is an underrated intro because it's like basically just the sound of a knife going into a pumpkin, and then at the end you see the jack-o'-lantern. In
Really,
general,
really, I think Nightmare on Elm Street also was usually pretty good because they would have like these weird. You were always inside of a nightmare for the opening credits.
not the first one. Well, I guess is the
You're
first
walking
one
in
a
the
different
you're
nightmare?
walking in the boiler room in the first one.
Yeah, but I feel like the first
Yeah.
one starts with seeing the origin of the glove.
Yeah, but that's
And
before any of the
then
credits
you
even
get
come up. I
this.
don't think. I think that's like a quick.
It says New Line Cinema, Wes Craven film, Nightmare on Elm Street. So,
Gotcha.
I don't know. I think that is kind of a gray area. We're just being pedantic now,
But yeah,
yes,
so
this is an awesome intro.
yeah, so they're scraping up all the burnt pieces of him, and they're basically making him fresh and new. And then the
Which is a
suit.
bad fucking idea. Why would you do this?
I think they wanted to make. He says that they're trying to prove that someone had malfunctioned with the doll, that
Right.
it couldn't
I
have
mean, I
possibly
get
been
it, but
possessed.
also it's just really stupid of them.
Yeah, and as soon as the
Thing, like you said, is the only thing that makes sense. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason to dig up that doll, clean him off, and remake him unless you're trying to have an argument in court, like a legal argument where it's like this doll isn't haunted.
Yeah.
Like imagine if they were just like, oh man, we need to remake a Chucky. Here's an old robot one. Let's rebuild it. You'd be like, that's so fucking stupid. Just make one for 5 cents because
Yeah.
they're cheap to make dolls.
And I've got some questions about the way that they make Chucky dolls for later on in this episode. But so they insert the eyeballs into the toy to finalize building it, and that's when like Chucky's soul is re-entered into the body and causes just an electrical malfunction that like blows one dude.
So good, too.
Dude blows the guy straight through the glass. His face is all sliced up. It's
Yeah,
good shit.
So fucking good. Like, that's the thing about this movie. It feels 1991, but in the
Mhm.
best possible way. It's like Candyman level nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you watch it and you're like, oh, I remember good 90s horror, early 90s horror.
Well, and I
Like,
think
this is like one of those movies that I saw. Well, not one of these movies, but like this look was one of the first ones that I saw stylistically that feels like, okay, this is pre-Scream.
well, and the Chucky moves so well too, which is
Oh yeah,
like it's very
Even the
well
first
done.
one, better than most of them, really,
Yeah.
because it's all practical, but it's also they know when to fold and when to hold.
Yeah.
Where they're like, okay, we can't get Chucky to do this thing right here, full body, so let's just have his face emote.
Yeah.
It's
Like
really great.
They really know, like you said, fold and hold. They know when to use him. So Andy is getting adopted while his mom is in a psych ward, and his
Which is
foster
dark.
yeah.
So dark.
and his foster parents kind of suck. Like
Well, no, beef.
no.
It's
The
fucking
act
beef.
I get that it's beef. I'm talking about from a parental standpoint. Like I am 100% on Kyle's side. She is going to have to live on her own in a year. It maybe isn't that important to her to have family dinner time. Like she needs
That
to
is-
save money.
That is a personal vendetta
Yeah.
that you're putting on to this movie.
That's the thing, though, is that
But-
I'm with you, Matt. Fuck family dinners. They are
Yeah.
stress-inducing to the max.
But it's like you've got that. You've got the dad who's like so unsympathetic to the fact that this kid was traumatized.
Also, how do you have this Chucky doll
Yeah.
in the bedroom?
Like and then he's just like, it's just a fucking doll. Like it's like, did you not read the case on this child at all before you
No,
took him
we
into your
didn't.
custody?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Is before you say anything, Brian, I gotta say, I think that there's a bit of reality in this movie, a dark reality, where adoption agencies are just absolutely overrun
Yeah.
with kids because people are gonna pop out kids that they don't have the ability to take care of, or they're fucking pieces of shit and they lose their kids. And you know how hard it is to lose your kids in CPS?
Yeah.
Like, super fucking hard. You have to be found with a fucking heroin needle in your arm to lose your kids in 2019. I'm sure that it wasn't much better in 1991.
Which
So-
apparently, side note, in 1991, Chicago's foster care was almost exclusively the palest of white children running around.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you think that Chicago has any brown people in it? Do you know Chicago? It's all white people. just side note, I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah.
We know that there are
Yeah.
brown people.
When later on in the movie when all the kids are leaving because of the fire alarm, I'm
They're all
like,
white.
oh my god, it's all white kids.
They
Like,
couldn't get in with the brown kid union.
I guess
But-
Don Mancini, when he strode up to a corner and said, "Stereo, daddy," didn't really work out in his favor.
Okay, so Don Mancini might have a blind spot because he is a gay white man,
this is true.
Yeah.
but he's not like, he's fallible. So anyway, let's get back to the movie. So there's some darkness here where they don't look at at his case. They're like, okay, well, she's like, whatever the woman's name is that gets stabbed in the chest later is like, oh, you should take him. And they're like, okay, I guess. And so they just fucking leave with him. It's like they didn't really have time to plan it out because the adoption agency or the foster agency is just like, you'll love him. He's a great kid, even though he's traumatized from seeing people get murdered.
Yeah.
So I get it. But then we go back to the evil corporation and the little toady who was like, oh, things will be fine if we reanimate this doll. He grabs the Chucky that's been reanimated. He doesn't realize it yet. And he throws it in the back of his car, which is full of toys, which I think is very funny because he doesn't give a fuck about the toys. They're just like prototypes or him doing market research or whatever. He throws him face down, and Chucky keeps going, I like to be hugged. I like to be hugged. I like to be hugged. Which is actually, Chucky became my spirit animal for a moment there.
Well, no. You're combining two things. This is my slapping of two things combining. The I like the yeah the I like the I like to be hugged was the Tommy doll that they had at the house that Chucky knocks over because then
good guy.
yeah.
Okay.
Because then he yells, hug this, and starts beating it with the vase.
Okay, all right. No, it's not a vase. It's like this weird piece of China ceramic that she's like, oh, that's also really. This movie has a lot of really dark comments, which I think are great. Where Andy's like, the mom is like, my grandmother gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me, and he's like, well, who are you gonna give it to? And she doesn't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that they're infertile, which is totally fine. Like, be a fucking foster parent,
Yeah.
please. Even if you are fertile, be a fucking foster parent. This movie should be like giant red sign, like, be a foster parent, but just vet your kids because they might bring a killer doll home who's going to kill you with a sewing machine. But yes, so also this foster mom does get a bit of a strike against her because she makes fucking egg salad for lunch. How divorced from kids do you have to be like, I'm going to give you the stinky lunch bag? I don't care how much you like the taste of egg salad. There's no time when you should have egg salad in a paper bag inside of a paper bag and then a plastic bag because it's just going to stink up your kid's locker and they're going to get laughed at
Yeah.
at school.
Setting him up for failure right out the gate.
Exactly. Exactly. No wonder Kyle wants to get gone.
So, Kyle, speaking of...
Who's like kind of a Patricia Arquette character.
Yeah, she reminds me, and I don't know how accurate this is, because I was like 8, but she kind of reminds me of a babysitter I had, but I don't remember anything about the babysitter, which is weird. All I remember is that the babysitter taught me all the words to regulate by Warren G.
Wow, I feel like I'm learning we've been podcasting for over 6 years together, almost every week, and I'm learning new shit all the time. This makes so much sense about your desire for white boy rap.
But yeah, so
that woman.
But yeah, so Kyle is she's better with kids than the fucking foster parents are. Like she knows how to talk to Andy like a person because you can talk to kids like people, but like with the sensitive gloves of like knowing what's appropriate for a kid to hear.
I think you guys are letting the dad like you're lumping the dad and mom.
His name's
together.
Beef.
Yeah.
Because
Beef and Joanne.
Joanne tries.
She does try.
She tries until Beef neck gets snapped, and then she's like,
Yeah,
"Be
that
gone
was-
from me, child."
But before we talk about that, there's one other kill that we need to talk about, which is the Sparkle Motion teacher.
Oh, dude, I have the I doubt Mrs. Kettleworth's dedication to spark emotion. But the thing is that we have the best quote from the movie, and it's not from Chucky. Get lost, microchip.
Yeah.
Microchip. The weird thing is that when did we watch this movie? I was like 6.
Yeah.
The entire classroom scene, I like remember scene for scene, every single thing that happened.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, I used the clip of Chucky with the ruler. It is my favorite shot of Chucky in the entire franchise.
When he's just like walking
when he's walking with the ruler in his hand, he just looks so menacing and creepy, and I love it.
The entire franchise?
Of all of the movies, it's my favorite shot of Chucky.
That's a lot, man. That's a lot to say. I don't know if I have the answer to that. If you were to like quiz me on that, I don't know if I'd have an answer because I definitely want to rewatch Child's Play and Curse of Chucky, but I mean, it's great. It is great, but I also really like when he's in the car with the dude and he has that gun that you know isn't a real fucking gun. It's just a squirt gun. It's like the size of Chucky's hand, and then he shoots the guy in the face where he goes ha ha ha. I don't know. Like I can't watch this movie and not think about Graveyard Shift now because that was the last movie that I saw him in. What's his face? Matt, edit this out. Make me sound smart.
I can only do so much.
Indubitably.
Shallow and pedantic. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the teacher also gets an air pump in the chest.
Oh, by the way, you would absolutely get an embolism and die way before you get stabbed in the fucking chest 6 or 7 more times.
Yeah. Yeah, man. She gets a brutal fucking death.
So, of all the times we've seen her die on our podcast, is this the worst?
Probably. I feel like she gets killed off camera a lot too.
Brett Dourif.
Okay, yeah.
Whose daughter is in later
the future franchise, yeah.
Which I love. I just love that.
So, Chucky kills the teacher. So now...
Oh, here's a question. Are we going to gloss over the fact that he cleaned up his mess? Like, he cleaned up all that blood. He cleaned up that room. He hid the body somehow. And nobody's like, oh, the teacher's dead, and call the house. Like, would no one know this? Because it was only detention. It was probably like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when she got fucking murdered.
I think you're looking too logically into a Chucky movie at that point.
This is the movie to look logically into because it's like the most logical of the Chuckies. Of the Chuckies.
Not for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. So yeah, we're recording. Yeah, that's true.
I can't wait.
So this is going to come out right after the week after it's released. So you'll hear if you're listening to the podcast, not watching on live stream, you'll hear our In Theater Now episode. Hopefully we liked it, but I'm excited.
I'm ready. He's got Mark Hamill. There's no way I'm not going to have a good time.
But
it's going to be fun.
But the other big thing that happens in this movie is that Chucky kills the teacher, comes back to the house. Andy makes a decision. Andy is going to kill Chucky, and he does it the best way he knows how. He pulls a Seth Green, look at me, I'm Leatherface, and he gets a turkey knife, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's a turkey knife.
Turkey knife, and he's down there ready to go. And that's when Beef shows up, and things don't go so well for Beef at that point.
Yeah, also, so this was my...
Best.
Oh, it was the cheapest, well, not cheapest, it was the least painful kill. The quickest kill, and also the one that I would feel most appreciative to be murdered by Chucky, because I've seen him murder a lot of people, and I think this is the best way to go. So,
Snap my neck.
Yeah, just fucking kill me. Like, that's like 30 seconds of horror in your life, and then you're dead. Like,
it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's the way I want to go.
No life.
Yeah, so I was pretty shocked because I did say that this is my first watch. I was pretty shocked that Beef got killed, and I'm even more shocked that the mom got killed. And that was that tableau of her like turning her around, and it felt very Halloween H2O when they're just like dead bodies, like crazy shit that's happened to them.
Yeah,
I really loved it.
Chucky turned Joanne into Joanne Fabrics.
Is your name really Joanne?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's amazing.
Let me see if I can hold this up to the camera. But if you can see, I have a note that says, there's a Joanne Fabrics joke somewhere.
I can see it.
So this is where, all that stuff's great. But it's the next part of the movie where things get fucking awesome. And that's Chucky gets the car with Kyle. She tries to kill him. Chucky escapes with Andy, flips her the bird from the back of the truck. And from this entire...
Really where that is the, like, welcome to primetime bitch of the Child's Play franchise, where Chucky stopped being a menacing wisecracker to being a straight wisecracker.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. It worked well for this.
But this point on, the truck stops, and they go inside the factory, and the last third of this movie is, like, perfect. It's perfection.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Shut up, Ryan.
There's only one issue with the last 30 minutes of this, and it is not a comedy scene. It is a serious scene that they shot comedy style, which was him falling down the slide, and it's just like a camera panning on Tommy, like, whoa, 10 seconds with no comedic value. I was like, wow, that is so parody in a serious scene.
All right, so you get that. You get the one. Anyway, so one of the things I love is that Chucky actually finishes the ritual in this movie. It's been too long that he's a doll, so it doesn't do anything. But like, I think it's a pretty.
He starts to bleed. Here's the thing about this movie is that. So I think that Don Mancini did the right thing with this, thinking, you know what, lightning's not going to strike twice, or lightning's not going to strike 3 times.
Yeah.
So the first one, I said what I wanted to say. Second one, I can write a second movie. But you know what? I doubt there's going to be another one because it's hard to go back. It's hard to go on from where we are here. And so he really does like a great job of setting up the tableau of like all the moving parts in the factory, and you get like a nice kill with that guy in the eyeballs.
Yeah, the eyeball kill is probably my favorite kill in the movie.
It's not, well, I guess it's my favorite kill, but I don't think it's the best death. I think that the most horrific death is definitely Joanne. Really.
Yeah.
Because it's off screen, but it's also the more horrific because you know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, you know it happened, and then she pulls. Kyle pulls her aside, and you get to see that's what I'm saying. It's a very Michael Myers kill because a lot of Michael Myers kills are off screen, which is why Halloween is a very bloodless movie, but still good and effective. But I think that Don Mancini did the right thing by being like, there's no way to go beyond this, and so he really went balls to the wall, all out in this last 20
minutes, yeah.
You get Chucky come back 3 times.
Yeah, and every time he looks, well, not every time,
Even
but
more horrific.
Yeah, but like,
it's great.
But like, they're running through the labyrinth of dolls, which is really
so
cool.
Good.
And then, so here's the thing. This is what I like about the movie, is that Chucky realizes that he's trapped as this doll forever, which means that he has got like no fucks left to give. Like, not only is he going to kill Andy, he doesn't even care what he looks like anymore. So like when they slam his hand down, he fucking
just pulls there's scissors and stuff. I love that's a little movie detail that I really loved.
Yeah, he rips his hand off like it's Evil Dead the remake, and then he makes himself a knife hand. He like tapes his hand with the packaging tape. Like
it's his Blade cosplay, dude. Don't hate.
Yeah, it looks so. And so here's the thing. So I said that him holding the ruler is my favorite shot of Chucky. Now let me explain one more thing that is a favorite Chucky thing for me, because I love this franchise. Stitched Up Chucky has always been one of my favorite Chucky looks. But my favorite Chucky look is Chucky with knife for a hand and legs sewn to a board on like a wheelie cart as he's just dragging himself. He looks so fucking badass and scary at the same time.
Also, is that it's a very interesting little jab at Chucky by having his balls stapled.
Yeah.
Because he's a doll, but he's becoming a human. And so he's getting his balls sewn into like a little wheelie, whatever. And he's like, I'm gonna cut your legs off. I don't even care.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. There's one question that I'm very confused by with this movie. And it's, what is the purpose of the button that Andy pushes that apparently just brings a doll back into the one thing and just starts shoving arms and legs into it until you tell it to stop? Like, why was that built on that conveyor belt? I don't understand what purpose it serves.
Quality control.
You're
All
more
right.
concerned about that than the fact that you can press a button and spray hot wax everywhere but in a toy.
Yeah, like at the end of this movie, I am there for the fucking ride. I have paid the admission. I have done an hour and 10 minutes of character development. I don't give a shit about logic anymore. I am just ready for some mayhem. And you know what?
Mayhem, baby.
That's an whatever it takes reference
Yep.
for any noobs out there that haven't been with the show for 4 fucking years and have heard us talk about that movie ad nauseum. Anyway, so you get the House of Wax Jared Padalecki kill, and I love it. I love it. It's such a. I mean, I saw it coming a mile away. Still loved it. Everything about this movie was probably so fresh in '91.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when we talk about movies, I think Out of the Dark is a great example. When we talk about movies that were kind of ahead of their time, you can still feel that charm, which is really cool to me, where it's not like, oh, I've seen this a million times, because we have the ability to be like, oh, this is where the trope originated, or this is an earlier incarnation of the trope, and it's so charming, and it's so fresh, and it's so entertaining. Like, I think that there's that. This movie is really one of the better movies that I really put off. You know, I put it off because I knew I behind the wizard behind the curtain, I can see Matt's Trello list. I can see Brian's Trello list. They can see my Trello list. And I knew that this was coming like 2 years ago. And I was like, I'll just wait. There are a couple other ones that I know for a fact that I really want to watch. And I'm just waiting. But that said, I have a lot on my list that the two of you guys probably shouldn't watch, because they're at least a year out, and I have to vet them because they may be fucking garbage. But so don't go through my list like, maybe I want to watch this. Just like do the Matt Kelly where you're like, oh, I found this at a con, I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Like is it my next pick, Matt? The 92?
I can't remember.
That might be my next. I'm pretty sure that's my next one. That one, I've been waiting, and you were waiting, and you picked it up at con, and you did the quality control check, and you're like, yeah, Scott, yeah, do it. And so, just like ignore my Trello list, because my Trello list, I added like 30 things today because I'm amping up for my birthday pick, and I'm like, oh, I need something good, but also bad.
All right, well, let's do our final thoughts and start to wrap up a little bit. So all in all, I still stand by, this is, if not my favorite Child's Play, it's tied with Bride. It is a very good fucking movie. It just depends on which type of Chucky I'm looking to watch, I think.
Yeah, I definitely need to rewatch Curse after watching this to make a decision about whether I like Curse better than this, which kind of is blasphemy. That's like if somebody was like, I like Halloween H2O better than Halloween 1978, but who gives a fuck, You like, I don't see it. It's going to be it's going to be on our main feed. Matt's pointing at himself. He likes H2O better than Halloween 1978.
I think that 78 is the better movie, but the one that I'm more likely to put on, the one I'm more likely to put on is H2O.
Well, and no one should listen to my opinion, because the one I'm most likely to put on is Halloween 4.
This is true. Brian, what are your final thoughts on Child's Play 2?
See, I love Child's Play 2, but the issue, it's not an issue, but it's hard for me to say when something does such a dramatic genre shift throughout the series, you can't, like, I can't compare Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky to Child's Play 1, 2, and 3, because they're just different. They're different movies all in all.
Yeah.
Do you think that Child's Play 1, 2, and 3 are kind of like their own thing, and then everything after is its own thing, separate?
I would think so, and I would think that, because 3 is almost like, and it's been a while since I saw it, but the best way I can describe it is 3 is more goofy, but it's almost like a Town That Dreaded Sundown, in a sense, that it's like a horror movie with just very goofy scenes.
I think that you're talking about slapstick.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Child's Play 3, but I've seen Town That Dreaded Sundown, and it's very like
when they drive
Laurel
off
and Hardy,
like,
Yeah.
it's slapsticky.
it's just weird. It's a weird movie. The weird thing is that they all have it, like, they all connect together logically,
Thank you, Don Mancini.
which is awesome. Because, like, even how Chucky comes from his demise in this into part 3 makes sense. And then, Bride of Chucky and everything else, they all have a very logical way that they come back. It's not just like the killer comes back and there's no explanation for it.
Yeah.
It's no Terrifier.
Yeah. All right, so double feature.
Matt, you go first because you picked this one.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the more logical one, and then after you guys say, I'll say what my like kind of weird, goofy one was.
Sure.
But I'm gonna go with Demonic Toys.
See, that for me, that's the gimme. That's the low-hanging fruit, because this one feels very much like Demonic Toys. Because if you were to split all of Chucky's good qualities into like 6 mediocre killer toys, you get Demonic Toys.
And I was thinking also just because of the warehouse look, like the whole locale,
sure.
like it made me think Demonic Toys. I'll let you guys go, and then I'll say my really absurd one.
Brian, do you need time? You want me to do? You want me to do?
I need time.
Okay, so this is a little off the beaten path, but if I was really doing a double feature with Child's Play 2, I would pick Who Framed Roger Rabbit as the intro. I'd start with Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Because of the dip?
It's because of the fucking dip.
Yeah.
Because this movie, if you guys had seen it when... Okay, so Matt, you were 10 or 11. Brian, that would make you, what, 6 years old?
Yeah, about that.
About 6 years old. That's kinder trauma, right? Shockwave talks about that. And Roger Rabbit is totally a kid's movie, but that movie fucked me up because, like, that dip scene is nuts. It's not the dip scene. I'm sorry. It's the fucking steamrollers.
Yeah, when he gets run over. I stopped watching at that point. I didn't see.
I couldn't. I saw it in theaters
Yeah.
and I was horrified.
I didn't see the last 5 minutes until like 6 years later.
But I loved it. I loved the idea of Roger Rabbit. It's just that it was so scary to me.
I still think that's one of the best movies ever. I still think it's a masterpiece of filmmaking.
One of the best movies ever. What?
I think it's a masterpiece. I think
even outside of genre, you think that movie is one of the best movies?
I think it's one of the best written scripts. They did a fantastic way because they basically just rewrote. It's Chinatown. It's the Chinatown screenplay.
Yeah.
So it's like
I was trying to think of what the crime noir it was.
Yeah, like
Chinatown.
they just were like, let's remake Chinatown and let's put this cartoon character in it. But like, here's the thing: what they did that was smart was that they never stopped it from being a film noir. You know what I mean? Like, it is a noir film. It's just a noir film that's wacky, and I think that that's really cool. So I love that. But I also think that it did so much shit that had never been done as seamlessly as that before. So like it's kind of an important movie. I'm pretty sure like it's even on like AFI's list of like the 100 most important films of all time. Like it's I would very highly rank it as like pieces of cinema more than just like a regular movie.
Are you saying that Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit is better than Bob Hoskins in Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying.
So, Brian, back me up here, bro. I'm guessing that Matt holds Roger Rabbit in such high esteem because his first boner was thanks to Jessica Rabbit. Is this true?
It could be because I don't know if she was my first, but she's my most recent.
Wow. Brian Kelly hasn't had a boner since 1996.
Or yesterday when I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
All right, Brian, what's your double feature, bro?
So this is, I mean, it's not too much of a stretch, but just trying, because Demonic Toys is really the perfect one. But I would go with Scream.
Really?
Because the era of when they came out, the age of when I watched both of these, and my biggest thing for thinking of it now is Chucky's hand caught in that cage, and his reaction is so similar to Billy when Neve Campbell is hiding in the closet, and he's got the phone, and he's like, "I'm gonna find you, you fucking bitch. You hear me?" Like, if you put them side by side, they're so fucking similar in the way that they like react.
Brian, I got a project for you for by the time this episode comes out.
Side by side.
No, I was gonna say just take Billy's dialogue and put it over top of Chucky, or vice versa.
I think he'd have to
It
do
would be
both.
easier to do Chucky.
Yeah,
Honestly.
but so the goofy one that I had was gonna be Jaws. Um,
Jaws?
Jaws.
Or Jaws 3?
No, Jaws 1 because they're both Universal movies, right? There's the
This
scene.
is a Universal monster?
This is water and attacks Quinn. They blow up Chucky like they blow up the shark. And then it both ends with the two surviving people walking off into the sunset, like the way that Chief Brody and Richard Dreyfuss swim their way back to shore at the end of Jaws.
I don't know, dude.
Dead
That's a
eyes.
stretch. That's
Yeah,
more of a stretch than
you ever see the eyes of a shark? Dead eyes like a doll's eyes.
The devil's eyes. Here we go. Back to Halloween 78.
All right,
All right,
so
things that we liked.
yeah, so
I would
I'll
like to kick it off.
go
Can I
for
kick
it.
off?
Yeah, go for it.
The Perfection. Have you guys watched it yet?
No, I'm told that I shouldn't hear anything about it, and I'm going to be in a bunch of hotels for the next 7 days, so I'm going to watch it at some point during that.
Yeah, actually, so Katie from the group, she's our friend, but I'm saying like anybody that listens, Katie from the group she posted the trailer when it was coming out onto Netflix when they had a release date, and we were at Pop Rock and Horror when it actually dropped, and so obviously I didn't have time, but when I worked from home this week, I just put some time aside to watch it throughout the day, and she and I rapped about it a little bit on Messenger after I finished it, and we are in agreement and of the opinion that it is a one and done film, really fucking good, but it's not a movie that you really want to watch again.
Yeah, I can't remember. She saw that at the same time that I saw
it at
something.
Fantastic Fest.
Yeah, she saw it when I was seeing something else, and I think she saw that when I saw FP2. So I don't.
Dude, it
So
was
I regret
3
nothing.
a.m. She said it was like 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning when she started, and she had been watching movies for 10 straight hours.
Yeah, then it might have been that because the FP was like midnight release, and I
It-
think
yeah,
midnight's when
so
they
it
do the
might have
last
been
one. Yeah, because I know that she saw Terrified the same time that I saw You Might Be the Killer, and I
Dude,
definitely feel
you
like
got the better end of that
that's
one.
what I stand
Fuck
by it.
Terrified.
Anyway,
And
so
Katie likes it.
she loves
Go
it.
ahead. So
So
I really liked The Perfection. Watch it on Netflix one time.
So I will talk about. I'm going to talk about two things real quick. They were both films that were given to me at Pop Rock and Horror. The one is called Night of the Axe, which is a 22-minute short film made by a guy who's been pretty active on our Facebook page since Pop Rock and Horror, Sean. So Sean, thank you for listening and being involved. So I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. But it's definitely something that was made with a lot of passion. And while the acting is a little rough, it's very clear that it's just him using local friends. But the gore, which is what you're there for this 20-minute short, is really fucking good. Like,
So you're saying we need to use him for a future HMN episode?
yeah, like there's a scene where someone gets an axe in the head, and we've seen that before. But when the guy goes to pull the axe out of the head, the skin gives with the axe.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit! Like it was like there was like a couple moments like that where I was like, damn. So very good. I'm excited to see what else Sean has up his sleeve because I like where he's going right now, right out the gate with this. And then the other one that I watched, I have so many mixed feelings for. It was called Badass Monster Killer, and it was
Yeah, we saw that guy give us a copy. I saw that guy
yeah.
give us a copy. Yeah.
And it's very. So I liked it a lot, but I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. But it was very like they went 100% into what they were doing. Like it's like Tokyo Gore Police. If it was, hold on a second, hear me out. Tokyo Gore Police. If it was a blaxploitation cop movie, and
That's a weird mix.
and if all of the monster effects were done by stop motion claymation creatures instead of like the hyper weird gore stuff. So it's just like the whole movie's shot on a green screen. It's very like obviously shot on a green screen, and that's like a stylistic choice.
Okay.
But like he'll shoot someone, it's kind of got like an Akira vibe, I guess, where like when someone gets injured, that's when their mutation begins. So like
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like he'll shoot someone and he'll like blow off a part of their body, and then all of a sudden it's all this stop motion claymation that starts to take over like half of their body, and then you've got like a half man, half claymation creature that he's fighting, and it's really fucking cool looking. I don't think we would ever do it for the show. I don't even know if I can necessarily recommend it, but it is on Prime if you just want to watch it because it was
Give him that 0.25%, man.
yeah, like visually, you know what it is? It's a perfect background movie. Like, throw it on, hit mute, and like enjoy a party, and have people just be like, "What the fuck is on?" Like, it's wild. And there's also a lot of nudity in both of those, which was shocking to me. But
So you're saying that you need to mail me those?
Watch it on an airplane.
yes.
Hey, Brian, before you go, I wanted to mention one thing that I watched due to Pop Rock and Horror. A really nice guy named Mike. So I was a very good boy, and I didn't drink very much at Pop Rock and Horror, but I did close down the hotel bar both Friday and Saturday night when I was there, which led to a lot of short sleeping. It wasn't hangovers, it was just short sleeping. But this guy, Mike, came up and talked to us at our table and then talked to me a bunch at the hotel bar. And he has a movie that he did called I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday. His name's Mike Lombardo. And he really is hoping that people will check out his film and give it a review on IMDb. Now, I do not have an IMDb profile, and I refuse to have one. I have the app strictly due to the fact that I need to look people up, not because I want to post anything important on it. So I'm going to give him my honest opinion here. And again, I will let him know in a Facebook message. I really liked the heart that went into it. I don't think it needed to be an hour and 22 minutes long, but it has a really good final 10 minutes.
Nice.
So it's low budget. It is a character study about a mom in an apocalyptic situation, and I appreciate it for what it is. But it feels a bit indulgent from the actor's perspective. It's like, since it's a character study, most character studies feel indulgent from an actor's perspective, and also from a writer's perspective, because then you're like, oh, I don't have to do exposition, I don't have to do any sort of like character growth. It can all be in their interactions with two other people, and them talking and reacting to things that happen around them. So it was one of those movies that I wouldn't rewatch, but I really appreciated what it was there to do. And if it was if it would have tightened itself up to like a 35-40 minute runtime instead of an hour and 20 or an hour and 10, whatever it was, it would have been killer. So
Nice.
I would highly recommend giving it a watch. It might be on Prime, I'm not sure. He sent me a link, but you can find it. It's around somewhere. I'm sure it's up for free. And then if you do have an IMDb account, give an honest review. That's all he wants.
Yeah. Nice.
He wants honest reviews.
All right, Brian, what's something good that you've seen?
So I went to Ginny Springs this weekend and swam in some springs. So my video watches have been down, and the only two movies that I saw that I can absolutely rave about are fairly well known and have been out for a while.
All right.
That's fine.
But I was just gonna go podcast route, but I'll be quick with it and then throw in those two movies. To Live and Die in LA, great mini fucking podcast. We listened to it for the 4.5 hour ride, and then
How many
4.5
episodes?
hour. It's 12 episodes,
Okay.
ranging from 45 minutes to an hour. It's about this murder in Los Angeles, and it's unsolved, but it's unsolved because the guy doing the podcast actually solves it. But since it's not officially by the police, the podcast ends with him turning in everything to the police because it was just a matter of like LA cops shutting it down quickly and not really caring to solve the case. Really fucking wild ride. Watched Sinister finally for the first time. I thought it was a very, very original movie. I thought it was fucking fun. It genuinely spooked me a few times.
Oh, Sinister's a great film. The only bad thing that I have to say is that I thought that Bagul looked fucking stupid. He looked like a Slipknot character. That's the only thing I have to say about it.
That I can 100% get behind.
My only beef with Sinister is that I feel like every time I watch that movie, I'd much rather be in the found footage stuff than the rest of the life drama. Like, that's really the highlight of the movie.
But it's like so weird watching. I got so submerged in it for like simple things that shouldn't make me go, oh shit. I went, oh shit. Like when he pauses the video on the laptop and the Bagul's head just like slowly turns and looks at him. Like it's such like a cheap trick and it's not that spooky, but like just I was so.
Your dad is all right.
And then
don't ever
I
use
watched-
the word cheap and trick right after me.
yeah. And then I watched Victor Crowley today, which was fucking hilarious.
Dude,
Holy
it's on my
shit.
list. I actually have a copy of it on my computer because every time I see Felissa Rose at a con, she's like, have you watched it yet? I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to actually see her at the end of this month, June. I don't know when this is dropping, but I'm seeing her at the end of June 2019 at a horror con up here in Ohio. And
I was
I have to watch it before
Dude.
that.
I wasn't ready for it. Like I thought it was like a dark comedy, like maybe like a few like comedic reliefs. The first scene, I watched it alone in my house today, and I was like gasping for air at how hard I was laughing.
Really?
Like, it
oh,
was-
fuck yes. I
there's-
can't wait.
It's not the whole movie like that, but there's certain characters and certain scenes that are just so fucking funny. And it was definitely a comedy first and horror second. And I
So that's
fucking
Hatchet
loved
4, right?
yes, because there
All
was
right.
3. The third one got a little crazy.
Yeah. Third one's a little wild. All right,
I've
so
seen the first 3. I just don't
Yeah.
remember the third one.
so that was Child's Play 2 as picked by me. We'll be back next week with a movie that Scott picked that he's been threatening us with for years.
What the hell did I
So-
even pick again?
Years.
For years, Scott. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe we'll be in outer
Oh,
space.
yeah.
Maybe
Oh.
we'll be in a whole extra time. Maybe Adam Scott will show up. Who the fuck knows? But tune
Are
in.
we having fun or what?
Tune in next week and find out. Hopefully, I won't be coughing and sick by then. All right.
God.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching the stream. We're gonna go ahead and cut it now. But great having y'all around.